Hello. Good morning. So, first of all, how do I follow four? Thank you very much for that, four. So, let me ask you a question. You don't have to answer it, but think about it. What would you, if you had the chance, what would you tell your younger self if you had the chance? I know what I would tell my younger self. Yeah, that's me. I have more teeth now. But before I tell you that, let me give you some context. I was born in the mid-70s in the UK, London, inner city London, to some hardworking, working class Nigerian immigrant parents. And anyone who has Nigerian immigrant parents or West African immigrant parents will know they wanted nothing more than for me to be a doctor, accountant, an architect, or some other upstanding profession. Unfortunately for them, and I think fortunately for me, I discovered my twin passions, which were for computers and entrepreneurship. I was building neural networks in secondary school. I went to university, of course. I studied computer science and a little bit of cognitive science. And it was then, in the mid-90s, that I saw the birth of the World Wide Web. I built some of the early sites of BBC, News International, ITV, and beyond. And then it came time to graduate, and of course, I was going to become a tech entrepreneur, but I balked. I felt fear. You see, I came from a working class background. It was a very poor background. I had no safety net. In fact, I was the safety net for much of my family. And because of that, I decided to become a computer engineer. Now, don't get me wrong, this worked really well. I went from computer engineer to lead engineer to chief application architect to CTO, chief technology officer. But all the while I knew I wanted to be a tech entrepreneur. But because of my fear of failure, I decided to go, and also because of my ever-increasing quality of life, I decided to live in fear. And this continued for 15 years, until one day we heard news. We heard that my older brother had suddenly and inextricably died. Now, at my age, at this age in this picture, Stephen looked a lot like me. It was very devastating for the entire family. Even today, we still actually don't know why it happened and what occurred. It's still a mystery. And every time my mother would see me, because of the fact we looked so similar, she would just burst in tears. But it made me realize something. It made me realize that you never know when, no matter how much you plan, life can change for you in an instant. And so with that realization, I decided to stop living in fear. In a few months, I handed in my resignation from my very comfortable job and decided to restart my entrepreneurial journey. Now, anybody who's been an entrepreneur or started a company knows that all my fears were completely unfounded. It was actually really simple to be an entrepreneur. It was a walk in the park, yeah? No. All my fears, actually it was 100 times worse than I'd imagined. But another thing happened as well. Every time I'd be attacked, every time I would fall, I'd just get back up. I'd dust myself off. I'd learn. I'd get better. I'd fall, get back up, dust myself off, learn, get better, get stronger. And this continued until I started to get the hang of this entrepreneurial thing. And around that time is when I discovered Bitcoin, the world's first anti-fragile money. And soon after, I set up the UK's first and went on to be the longest running Bitcoin exchange. I successfully sold it a few years ago, and now with my co-founder and my incredible team and investors, many of you I see in the audience right now, I set up Fedi. what I believe is one of the hottest startups in the Bitcoin for freedom space. Now, what is Fedi? Well, Fedi makes a super app. We all know super apps are some of the most popular apps on the planet, used by billions of people worldwide. They all must contain the ability to have chat, communication, money, banking, and data, increasingly AI data, all in one simple to use package. But unlike every other super app on the planet, whether that be Alipay, WeChat, Telegram, soon X.com, which are centrally controlled and therefore your privacy and sovereignty, your freedom is at risk. Fedi uses freedom technologies like Bitcoin to empower communities and organizations around the world to take control over their money, their communication, their data, so that they, not we, they can ensure the privacy and sovereignty of the people they care about the most. And as I said, we're not the only companies in this space. There are many other companies doing this that work to use freedom technologies like Bitcoin to help humans and communities around the world become more free. In other words, we use freedom technologies like Bitcoin to help humanity be anti-fragile. Now, I keep using this word anti-fragile, so let me define what I mean by this. We know what it means to be fragile. That means when you're attacked, or when you make a mistake, when you fall, you get weaker, you fail. And we often think the opposite of this is to be tough or to be strong, but we'll be wrong. If you're tough, that means when you're attacked or damaged, you don't get weaker, but you just stay the same. To be anti-fragile is to fall, to get back up, to learn, to get stronger, to get better. And this economic superpower is more important now than any time in history. Because as we've heard today and yesterday, there's a direct correlation between the level of economic freedom, economic anti-fragility a community has, and the level of political freedom, political anti-fragility that a community can enjoy. And unfortunately, after nearly a century of rising levels of freedom in the world, we're seeing a worrying trend over the last 10 to 15 years where democracy is in decline, autocracy is on the rise. And if we're being honest, even many democracies are showing worrying trends towards greater and greater curbs on a level of political and economic freedom that their citizens can enjoy. This is why, for example, we at Fedi work with humanitarian NGOs to deliver low-cost and high-speed aid. For example, recently we worked with Refunite to deliver aid to over 15,000 refugees who have no banking, who have no ID, at a fraction of the cost and the time of other options, only by using freedom technologies like Bitcoin, where no other offering would have helped. Or our friends at Gridless Compute, is an innovative company that provides off-grid Bitcoin mining to help accelerate the electrification of rural East Africa using renewable sources of energy, where no other industries would have sufficed. Or again with us at Fedi, where we work with human rights defenders in Southeast Asia, in Africa, and of course here in Latin America. In fact, actually, a little story. It was because of our desire to help human rights defenders around the world after our first visit to the Oslo Freedom Forum that led to the formation of Fedi in the first place. And we work with them to deliver secure remittance and private communication when other more centrally controlled offerings will put the people they care the most about at significant risk. There's still a hell of a lot to do. This is just the beginning. But it's clear that the potential to empower billions of people around the world is undeniable. It's unarguable. So we can't stop. We won't stop until everyone on this planet is free. Because until everybody on this planet is free, no one truly is. So what would I tell my younger self if I had the chance? I'll tell my younger self to not be afraid to make mistakes and fall. Just get back up, dust yourself off, learn, get stronger, get better. I will tell my younger self to not wait 15 years. I'll tell my younger self to be anti-fragile. But for those of you who know your UK sci-fi, I'm not Doctor Who, I don't have a time machine, so I can't go back in time and do that. But but I can do something better. We can do something better. We can work to support technologies, companies, initiatives, protocols that work to empower billions of people around the world, lift them up after they've fallen, help them learn, become stronger, become better. We cannot wait months, years, or decades, but act now. We can all use freedom technology to help humanity be anti-fragile. Because if there's one thing you take away from this talk, it's this. Like freedom of speech, freedom of expression, freedom of association, anti-fragility is a human right that every person, every community, everywhere deserves. Thank you.